move on. This show is going to be real. It's going to be so good. So good.
So wet.
Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at www.audibletrial.com/JustSomeGuardians. Over 180,000 titles to choose from your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. As Jack J. How Jay, the sneaky pervert, decides to try to finger some buttholes. Hijinks ensue. Shit is smelled. Also eaten. And it's a lovely, lovely book. I believe you had a suggestion as well, didn't you?
I do have a suggestion. Not in the same genre of book, but it is slightly different. More of a funny take on life. But it is a book called I Must Say, by written and narrated by Martin Short. It is about his upbringing in Canada, which Jay will probably actually enjoy that. So along the same lines of that genre.
Oh, sure. I mean, Jay will enjoy fingering buttholes, and I just say. Or is it may I just say? Or
do you remember Ed Grimley, his character on like Second City TV
Yes.
and Saturday Night Live? So
The fat one, right?
No, that's Jimmy Click.
Oh.
Ed Grimley was the skinny guy with kind of like how I usually have my hair, where it's like coned up in the front.
Oh, yeah.
So, but he always said,
okay.
I must
Yes.
say. So,
Yes, I must say.
but yeah, he gets into some deep talks about character creation and how he found his inspirations for them, and talks about his experience with Saturday Night Live. And
Cool.
just a really good book, and a lot of it's amazing because you see someone at his level, but even now today he still like compares himself to other performers, sure. and he's always just wanting to do better at what he does. So it's an amazing book. I can't recommend it enough. So
he had a special. I think it came out a few months ago. There was a special on Netflix with him and Steve Martin that was pretty good.
I'll check that out.
I watched that, and it was because it's the first time that I've seen either of them do stand up in a while. And I guess they toured around, and it's pretty funny. It's pretty funny. Like they do a good job. They kind of have an interesting brand of humor that I find myself. It's usually a few minutes past, and then I'm laughing.
Yeah.
At what was just said, because they have a very, like, the way they talk and communicate and the way they tell their jokes, it can slip by you real easy, because you're like, wait, was that funny? Like, was that a joke, or was that not a joke? I don't know. But
it's that high level that it's just like you really have to be focused in. Yeah, it's good stuff.
So. They also have some lower stuff, which is more in my lane. Stuff that I can get and laugh at. Oh, okay, I get it. I get this joke. I'm on the same page. I also had a recommendation, and that was Shadow of the Conqueror by Shad M. Brooks. I don't know if you've ever seen his YouTube stuff.
I have not.
So he's pretty he's pretty popular in some hemispheres, but basically he does a lot of his channel is called Shadiversity, and he does a lot of medieval like weaponry, what they might use, what they would use, moves, combat, and some things like how would you actually use a torch if you were to use one, because most movies have people holding it out in front of them, but you would hold it behind you so that it wouldn't be shining in your eyes, and so all that you would be able to see is the torch.
Oh, okay.
You would hold it behind you so that you could get the cast over your head instead of in your eyes. It's a lot of really cool stuff. Like, he'll go into a lot of movies like, hey, they used this sword in a movie. Would this actually be feasible? But anyway, he wrote a book called Shadow of the Conqueror. It has to do with a guy that it's a fantasy, high fantasy, I would call it. The world is I was pleasantly surprised because it's self-published. He didn't take it to a publisher or anything. He published it through his own company. You can find it on Amazon, like the electronic in the electronic version. I don't think he actually has like a book, a
Oh,
hard
okay.
copy.
So there's not an actual physical copy of the book then.
Right. But it's read by Michael Kramer, which I don't know if you've ever heard of Michael Kramer.
It sounds awfully
Um,
familiar.
he did the Stormlight Archives, he did the Mistborn series, and he did the Wheel of Time. He's done a lot of books. He's pretty big in that area of things. And anyway, I was pleasantly surprised because sometimes I read self-published books and I'm going, I can see why it's self-published.
Oh yeah.
I can see why nobody bought this. um, but it's very much in the vein of Brandon Sanderson type fantasy with kind of a hard magic system. He goes into a lot about um, physics,
Okay.
because and the magic is all based on light. They absorb light and then they channel it into different things, and basically, so this conqueror, this Stalin like figure. In fact, it seems as if he took a lot of, from Joseph Stalin, and as he's aged to 80, he's had his kingdom taken away from him. He's living in poverty, in hiding, and he realizes the error of his ways, and he goes to try and kill himself by throwing himself off of the landmass, because the landmass in this book, it's this large continent that there are no seas or anything that surround it. It's a flat plain in an endless horizon. And what happens is you can actually, from standing on the continent, if you look up, you can see the bottom of the continent. And so if you jump off of the continent, you would actually just kind of fall forever, starve to death or whatever. But anyway, so he goes to jump off the continent because he's taking his life in his own way, kind of thing. And basically, in the way that he does it, he ends up acquiring these powers and becoming a younger version of himself. Somehow, he has been able to go back to like the age of 20 or younger, and so like the prime. And so he's got all these experiences as an old man, and now he has power to be able to rectify some of the wrongs that he did. But he was a really terrible person, and so like everybody hates him. Like he calls himself the Great Bastard. Like that's what everybody calls him. Everybody hates him. I mean, like to the point to where continents or countries hate him and want him dead. So it's an interesting story, kind of redemption with a lot of high fantasy, some cool ideas. There's some hiccups, some burrs, new author, but pretty good. I would suggest it.
And so the name of the book is again?
Shadow of the Conqueror.
Shadow of the Conqueror. Okay.
Yeah.
And,
anyway, sorry, I take like 20 minutes to describe books. Apparently.
It's okay. It's all right. But you can also get those selections if you just go over to audibletrial.com/JustSomeGuardians for your 30-day free trial. So
yes, that too. Also.
All right.
As well.
Well, I have no intro music once again. I'll later on go and explain my setup as it is a little bit later on. But Elmer could not join us this evening. By the way, before I get into all that, this is Just Some Guardians episode 86. I'm Gunbait. I'm joined tonight with Russell. Hello.
Hello.
Elmer could not join with us tonight because he had a family emergency. So all I can say is I don't have any details or anything like that. But I hope everything is okay with him, and I certainly wish him the best. So. So hopefully next week we can get him back on here and have some fun. So, but how have you been? I haven't. It seems like you've been so busy these past few weeks that
yeah. Well,
I haven't really had a chance to speak with you.
I had gone out of town for business. We went to Las Vegas, but we were gone for a few days because we went to go see my wife's family in St. George as well. So we left a couple of days early, and St. George is only a couple hours from Las Vegas. So we just stayed
Nice.
there and then drove into Las Vegas when we had a chance, and then yeah, because nobody's been on Red Dead because everybody's been playing Destiny Shadowkeep for the last week. So I've just been, oh, I'll go do a trade route. I'll go hunt, do a trade route. Is anybody on? Hello, hello, hello. Okay. Um, I do feel sorry. I'm gonna get off on a tangent because it's Red Dead and I love it.
It's a great game.
So I've gotten to the point. So the last couple of weeks, I've been putting all my money towards upgrading the ability cards, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I've got my build all set out. I've got the max damage, so it makes me more accurate, and I do a lot more damage with when I'm holding two weapons in each hand.
Okay.
So I have two Schofield revolvers, and it is so much fun. Yeah, because I mean even PCs, because I can get them at a boom boom because I can do it so quick, and because the accuracy is so improved, I can usually get a headshot. And if I can't get a headshot, 2 or 3 shots and they're done. And because you're holding two, you can usually get it off pretty quick.
Oh yeah.
But even just going up against NPCs, because then I also upgraded all the way to where if I'm taking multiple shots, I'll take less damage, and for every kill that I get, I heal for 5 seconds. So I'll just run into a big group of people and be like, bam, 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 and I'm good. I'm like, all right, that was all right. Let's grab this stuff, because the multiple shots. Because unless I get hit in the head, if I get hit in the head, I'm screwed. So against player characters, it's not great, but
yeah, usually that's how.
Yeah.
If you get hit in the head, you're pretty much
well,
screwed.
yeah, it makes sense. But yeah, and then I bought my Halloween costume today because they put out masks, so everybody gets 3 or 4 masks, and I think they're releasing some every day up
cool.
until Halloween. Because I got like 3 yesterday, I got 2 today, and so I've got a Halloween kind of costume thing going on with the swine mask that's got like the rotting flesh hanging from it.
Oh, nice.
Like an old man beard. I got the coat that has the alligator print on it, and then some real swanky like plaid pants, no shirt, purple scarf. I've got some tasseled boots. It's pretty exciting. Anyway, how have you been?
I've been very well. I went through a story that I won't bear repeating because it's too embarrassing from last night.
Oh man, that would have been such a good story, though.
Maybe I'll save it for the. It's in the end, it's not necessarily a spooky story, but it is my own fears coming into. Super
spooky.
So
like
we will have to plan like a Halloween episode or something. So,
okay.
But yes, these past few nights I have been up super late, and by late I mean like 5 a.m. late.
Too much Destiny.
No, actually it hasn't been. And we'll be talking about Destiny tonight. But what I have been doing though is I've been having a lot of fun, not necessarily in gaming.
Mm-hmm.
And this is from you. It's going to sound, or when I say this, it's not going to sound, because you probably do this for your job. But I have actually found a new interest and love for programming.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And so now in relation to what you just mentioned about Red Dead, it is a fantastic game. And basically what I'm doing is I'm getting ready for an anticipation of Red Dead on PC. Now I know you're hearing that.
Oh.
I know you're hearing that. Probably there's some of us planning on going to PC, and that is correct. I have no interest in replaying the game over on PC again. I have no interest on releveling back up on Red Dead Online.
Yeah.
I have other interests in mind. What I've been tinkering with in the way of programming is I've been playing with a mod for GTA.
Yeah.
And so that's called 5M. And basically, I'm uh, going through the steps of learning Lua, making callbacks to databases and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Inputting and outputting data. Been just having a ton of fun with it, and just watching something build. And I'm actually working on I've actually been calling it the JSGRP. Um, it's basically a GTA 5M server that I'm creating.
Okay. Because
And
5M is the role play server, right?
correct, or it is
Okay.
a mod set that gets you. It basically takes a single player version of the game, and it pulls all the assets from them because it's locally on your hard drive.
Oh, yeah.
And so basically, what it does is it takes place of the online server, and so it pulls all those assets in, and then it makes the connections from there. So it's like being
Ooh.
online, but yet it's handling it on its own. So, and it's just
Right.
using the local version for the story mode for the assets. And so it was shortly after Red Dead was announced for PC,
Yeah.
5M came out and announced we will be taking the FX or the Citizen FX framework, and we'll be also making the mod for Red Dead. We'll be calling it Red
Oh,
M. And so we'll be my if I'm planning this out correctly, and if they're so sure that they're going to have that out after
right.
Red Dead comes out, my thinking is it's along the same lines of the same setup. It
Oh, you're
shouldn't
getting
be.
me super excited, man.
Yeah, well, I am so excited because I have so many plans ready to go. I mean, and it's been really exciting to talk with friends online about the possibilities of what we can do.
Right.
Um, so so yeah, I've got and what I'm planning on doing is I'm planning on setting up like some subdomains so we can actually have it to where we can actually split it out to where we can have different servers point to different locations,
Hmm.
whether if people wanted to play GTA 5M or um, sorry, I got caught off guard, but I was looking at chat. But I want to have it to where down the road, if we want to have actual role play servers, we can actually go in as a community and enjoy it. So,
That would
um,
be so much fun.
yeah.
I
And
want to get a PC rig just so that I can play that with you guys.
honestly, that's one of the reasons why I'm just so excited for this opportunity. Like I said, I'm not even anywhere anywhere near remotely interested in replaying the game over again. That's
Right.
that I my reasons for getting the PC version are completely different from everybody else, and I hear
Right.
everybody's complaints too because I message people in another Discord too that I'm a member of, but I personally believe that when a company releases a game and then they release it on another platform or something like that a year later or several months later, I almost think that that's a predatory practice. They should be releasing them near the
Yeah.
same time. So but it is what it is. I'm gonna buy it for a second time, and but it's just pretty much gonna be strictly for development purposes.
Right.
So
That would be a lot of fun because there are a lot of assets in the main story campaign
yeah,
that I wish were in the online version, and to be able to do that sounds really interesting.
yeah. Well, in Evil J and chat, we were also talking about the differences between um, what you have on GTA online for 5M. You have cell phones. You can text people. You can use walkie talkies back and forth with people. And then I think he even came with the idea. He's like, you could basically have people dedicated to delivering messages to other people as writers.
Oh, that yeah, that would be cool.
And all they do is their job is to run in between towns and stuff like that. And
That's pretty cool.
I was even thinking about setting up like a telegraph system or something like that. But just
Sure.
little things like that. But and there's so many little towns, so I mean, there's opportunities for like you know a rowdy town mayor, and there's doctors' offices there and stuff like that. So I'm just
I just want to be able to rob a bank in Red Dead Online.
exactly,
I
and
just want to be able to rob a flipping bank without it having to be a story mission
I'm
or a
surprised.
train.
I'm surprised it hasn't happened yet. So
Yeah, me too.
so that's
I
a bit.
refuse to be censored, Jay.
Uh, go to YouTube. Anyways,
Yeah, sorry, visual bit
yeah.
for those who are not watching visually. Here, I'll read it out for people. Jay has gone mad with power because he had me out for 10 minutes. Rise up, my brothers, and flood the chat with hashtag JFingers buttholes. And then I told Evil Jay to suck on that.
Well, thank you for that.
You're welcome. I just thought I'd throw that out there for our audio listeners as well.
The audio listeners appreciate it. I'm most sure of it.
They finally know what that sign says.
Yeah.
If they have only listened and never watched the show live. It goes up pretty often.
So yeah, so I've been that's what I've been messing around with and basically I you had mentioned everybody's been off playing Destiny 2 and I have been doing that. I went through the story mode, and I guess we can kind of get into that mode, but
yeah.
As a nice little segue here, but so I played through the story, and I've done a little bit of leveling, and that was essentially my coming back to Destiny. It wasn't anything grand. I'm not necessarily. I'm enjoying a lot of games right now, so
Right.
And I don't have I can't necessarily dedicate the time to do the grind as some people can. So it's like, and I'm not necessarily looking for a grindy game at the moment, which Destiny definitely fills that void if you need that. But I just so I can really only speak on the points of like the story, the actual main campaign, and then a little bit of the level progression after that. But what are your thoughts on the main campaign so far? Now that gosh, it's been a month now, or almost been a month since it's been out. So,
Well, I'll tell you.
okay,
I know nothing about it because I have been out of work for the past month.
Oh, okay. So you have not done it.
So I haven't purchased it.
Okay.
I have not purchased it. So I'm going to ask you a few questions because I'm very curious about it.
Oh, wait. Okay.
Because I love the idea. The Hive are my favorite villain, my favorite monster, whatever, in Destiny.
Okay.
I really like, because I am very much a sword and sorcery kind of guy. If anything has any hint of fantasy elements, I'm like, oh yeah, give it to me, give it to me, give it to me, give it to me good. And so the idea of them having knights and wizards and banshees and those kinds of things. Banshees, that's a thing, right? Am I making that up in my head?
I think you just made it up. But
I thought that's shriekers, right? Those are the big
shriekers.
things that shoot the things at you. Oh, yeah. Shriekers, banshees. I mean, come on. Halo, Destiny, what's the difference?
You might actually be angering a lot of people right now.
I'm just kidding.
Okay.
Just kidding, guys.
I'm sure.
I'm teasing. I love you. So the Shadow Keep is delving further into the Hive in this expansion, right?
Yes and no.
Oh, okay. Now, can you explain that without spoiling anything?
So there's a big oh shit moment.
Okay.
That I don't care to go anywhere near for fear of outright
Spoilers,
hatred and stones being thrown at me. So yeah,
Right.
Spoilers. I will not be going. This is not the episode that I will be going into. However, where they are taking the story.
Okay.
And so this has actually been one of my big complaints over the whole time of Destiny was that it feels like that they're starting up stories and they're not completing them.
Right.
You know,
Okay, so it's same kind of principle with this, where
it is, but let's just
they
put it
did it
this.
well.
Yeah, they did it very well, and let's
Okay.
just say that they something that was started up within Destiny 2, or that you got to see or witness it within Destiny 2, it definitely comes back to that in a big way.
Here's a question for you. So does it tie in with Warmind?
No, I mean,
Okay.
other than
Because we had what was the worm god thing?
yeah, I honestly,
No.
it's just way beyond that. I wouldn't even consider that
Okay.
as a. I mean, other than just the hive being tied to that, that's the only reason. I
Okay.
mean, that would tie to that, but I would say it's beyond that.
Now I mean, because Eris Morn is back, right?
Yes, she is.
Right. And the last time that we saw her back in what? The last time that we saw her was back in Destiny 1,
Yep,
right?
this is her first appearance back in Destiny 2.
And the last time that we saw her, because she was a major part of a couple of big expansions, which was, at least she was involved with, um, gosh, what was it called? Where Crota, what was
Yeah,
that? What was that
that's not the
expansion
Dark
called?
Below, is it?
The, I think it is. I think
Yeah,
it is the Dark Below.
yeah,
So that was the first time that we were introduced to her, right? Was Crota during that whole
yeah. I think that was
resurgence.
actually her first entrance into the game.
And then so we killed Crota, who is the son of Orcus, not Orcus, that's D&D. Um I mean they're both pretty similar.
Oryx.
Oryx,
Yes,
Oryx. I knew it was an OR. So King Oryx, Crota was King Oryx's son. And as far as we know, right, because the lore is that Oryx was actually a woman beforehand, or
that's
as
not
far as like the
important.
hive have
We're
genders.
in an advanced time now. We don't need
Okay,
to.
I,
We don't need to associate gender. Yes,
I mean I'm not, but that's the way it was in the lore, right? I mean
yes,
I'm not crazy.
yes.
Okay,
Oryx
I'm
was
not being
pretty.
insensitive. Okay,
I'm just giving you shit right now.
shut your
um,
face.
no, if I remember my lore correctly, I think Oryx was Orash before that.
Rush. And there were three sisters, right?
Correct?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I've done some dive into the lore, mostly because Hive are really cool.
Yeah.
Um, and Orish, uh, uh, somehow she found her way into the taken dimension or whatever that is.
Yeah. Basically, Oryx or Orash. Basically, if gosh, this is digging back into some lore, and I'm having some trouble remembering, but basically, the deal with the worms was where they had to.
That's right, because they worship the worms.
Yeah, and they were given a worm to satiate, and basically the worms represented, I think, their desire,
Mm-hmm.
and so like, I think, gosh, I can't even remember the name. Savathun. There was who was the other one? Zivu Arath, which was like, Savathun had cunning. Zivu Arath had it was war. I don't know if it was just war or
I've heard them related to something like the seven deadly sins. Like they represented cunning, war, hunger, things like that, right?
yeah, in something like that. Yeah, but I think it was more specific to just war making, and that was what would satiate her worm. And then Oryx basically ended up, you know, I think actually taking out one of the worms, him or herself, and actually basically learned the tactic of taking. And
Oh,
that's actually, by the sword logic, he killed a worm god, and basically learned that,
interesting.
through the sword logic. So
Interesting.
um
So,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. You're asking the questions, and I'll answer them as best as possible. I didn't realize this was gonna get into a lore.
Well, I feel like because again, I know very little about Shadowkeep except that Eris Morn is back. And
Mhm.
so I kind of want to establish what we've seen through Destiny 1 to kind of get an idea of, because this is things that I'm curious about because I haven't been able to play yet.
Mhm.
So then so we killed Oryx at the end of the campaign for the Taken King, but he was then taken himself, and we had to go to his, what was it, his throne dimension? Was that what it was?
Shadow Realm or
Shadow Realm.
yeah, or something
Yeah.
like that. Basically, his throne world, I guess you would call it.
And then we had to kill him there because I never did that raid. So I again, this is an area that I'm.
Yeah, and most of that is pretty much in the lore. If you've ever read,
Right.
the Book of Sorrows, it pretty much explains where you have to kill him essentially in order for it to be final.
Okay.
And then basically after, after the regicide campaign mission, you actually have a cutscene of Eris where she's,
Right.
she.
That's what I was getting to.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So Eris takes the Taken King's sword.
Right.
Right. Now,
Or a piece of it essentially.
here's a question: because does she just appear in his throne world, or is it in our reality?
In our reality, yeah. So
Okay. Okay. So that's the last time that we saw Eris Morn, right?
yeah,
Until this recent.
yeah, and basically she took the pieces of the sword basically, and we were to fashion a sword out of it so we could, basically use the sword logic to our advantage. We
Okay.
basically took his tactics and we forged our own swords.
And that was back in Destiny 1 as well, right?
Correct. Yep, that was all during
Yeah.
Taken King at that point.
Because you had to end up killing like the general that Oryx had imprisoned in that dark pit a couple of times, or that was like one of the challenges, right?
Yeah,
If I'm not
it was a strike
mistaken.
actually.
Yeah.
The name's escaping me somehow actually. But yeah, but basically you see those the Dark Blade. Uh,
Yeah.
but basically throughout
That's
Destiny,
what his name was.
yeah, throughout Destiny 2, you actually see those type of Dark Blade characters throughout. Like whenever you do like the Ascendant challenges and stuff, they're
Mhm.
all over the place. And let's just say that you see a reoccurrence of those.
So Eris Morn shows up because this well, I guess we'll. So Eris Morn shows up. Is it a continuation of that story from there?
Let's just say it's a continuation of. I.
Yeah. Okay. No, don't go into any
Yeah.
spoilers.
So let's
Okay.
just say that Moon's haunted, man.
Moon's haunted. I thought it was hilarious when there were all those tweets about people with the astronauts and the moon's haunted,
Yeah.
and so funny.
Yeah.
So what part of the moon do we go to? Because this is the first time we've been returning to the moon since Destiny 1.
Mm-hmm.
Are we seeing some of the same basic areas, or is it like the dark side of the moon? Where
No.
are we
So
at?
basically, the map you get is nearly identical to what you get in Destiny 1. However,
Really?
there's some slight land transformations. There is also major additions add on. There's actually the Shadow Keep area, or the I can't even remember that's so new to me, and I haven't been in the game heavily that much, but the whole area where the Shadow Keep is a new branch of that map, and so you can go to Archer's Line and all that, just basically as you did before, and there's a new social area where you know Eris will actually be where you go to visit her. So
And she's been infected by the hive, right? I mean, she has the three eyeballs.
My understanding is she uses some of the hive magic to her power, to her advantage, but I don't
Okay.
know if she's actually infected by them or anything like that. But
Okay. But she's, yeah.
yeah, she
Go
couldn't
ahead.
see in the dark during the Crota raid, so she ended up taking some hive eyes and place them so she could see.
Oh, well, that's one way to make sure that you have dark vision.
Yeah,
Or you could just be a tiefling or a drow or an elf or, lots of other things.
yeah, or yeah,
So
half orc is also a good way too.
half orc. Half orc is one of my personal favorites. Um, don't get me distracted by D&D right now.
I didn't start this. You did.
So would you say that the size of this expansion is similar to Forsaken?
No, I would say it's more akin to Rise of Iron size.
Rise of Iron. Okay, so smaller.
It is definitely smaller. However, I think they made good use of what content they provided forward. So I didn't feel like that during the campaign my time was wasted. Which, I mean, Rise of Iron, you could almost argue that that campaign was almost wasted because
Yeah.
we literally don't really see any trace of Siva anymore in the world, or anywhere.
That's true. I mean, it really did
Lord
nothing to
Saladin
impact the
doesn't even
story.
recognize you as an Iron Lord. So
Which is, I, in some respects, that makes sense for people who weren't able to buy the expansion, but also give me that because that would be awesome.
yeah, it's a
In my
title
opinion.
I've earned.
Well, we did get the I think with the Rise of Iron, that's when they introduced. Is that when they introduced the hammers, or was that in Destiny 2?
They had axes you could wield around that were spawned in
That's right.
as a
That's right.
but it worked like a hammer. I mean, you could say that. But in
Those
Destiny,
axes were freaking awesome.
they were quite useful. But yeah, you got the Young Wolf's Howl, which was a sword that laid down fire as you slammed it on the ground.
Yeah, that was cool too.
So
So this one is kind of more along the lines of like Warmind, because Warmind was relatively short too.
yes, however, when in the scope of things, I think I'm looking at it as also like, is it advancing the story forward any
Right.
further in a way that makes logical sense as far as like a
Sure.
cohesive story. And so I'm gonna label it as rewarding and not rewarding in that way. Warmind, you killed a worm god so easily. Nokris was could bring Hive back from the dead, and we killed Nokris. It wasn't that rewarding to me. It was cool. It
Right.
was a fun time.
I
But
felt like the boss battle left a little to be desired, in my
very much
opinion.
so. I mean, when you can sit back and in a corner and just what's the heavy sniper rifle that has box breathing? I can't remember, but um, man, names escaping me. But um, I can't remember the name of it. But yeah, it's an exotic sniper rifle that you can get. But yeah,
Yeah,
you can send a few shots into it and it's dead. So
just strange to me. I just yeah.
yeah.
Um, did this one have? I mean, without going into spoilers, did this one have a satisfying boss encounter at the end of it?
I would say very much so. As a matter of fact, multi boss encounter.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So
And not necessarily hard,
right.
but fulfilling in story. Like I
Good.
would say. I mean, it kind of tied some things together. At least just to make at least a cameo appearance, and then you moved on. So
Right. So because I think I mean like battling Calidus was a well story delivered and an interesting boss battle. Um, what is it? What's the Wish Dragon?
the Last Wish raid. Yeah.
The last well because not even particularly the raid, but that the thing that you fought that then turned into a mouth and puked up the prince, and then you shot him. You know what I'm talking
Oh
about?
yeah. The flying spaghetti meatball
Yeah,
thing. Yeah.
yeah, that thing. Because
The
I felt
voice
like
of Riven, I guess you'd
the
call it.
voice of Riven. Thank you. The because I felt like that was a pretty satisfying boss battle.
Mm-hmm.
Difficult, well delivered story. So where would you put it in with those?
Um. So all I can say is, if you're wanting me to rank it, I would say I enjoyed Forsaken just because it opened us up to a completely different area. It introduced
True.
new lore into, or not new lore, but at least it explored the lore of the Awoken and brought
Hmm.
in a little bit more information on that. And so, on the scale of things, on how things just went absolutely completely weird on the Dreaming City, and how they're basically caught in that essentially a death loop, in the Dreaming City. Have you played
Right.
Forsaken? You have, right?
Yeah, I've played Forsaken.
Okay.
I touched the Dreaming City. Um, I didn't get to delve into its secrets as much as I would have liked.
Okay.
I
Um,
never had anybody to run the Last Wish with, so
oh, I'm sorry. I've only ran it maybe twice, and so it was honestly I had no ambition to really run it all that much, but
I heard it was a really difficult raid.
it is. But if you run with a good crew, it's actually visually appealing, and just not so much technical. Just you do feel like you're rushed. Like there is
Sure.
immediacy to get on to the next spot. So
Right.
in that aspect, it's a great raid. It's a beautiful raid because it is all in through the Dreaming City, and there's spots where you get to go through huge jumping puzzles where you can get to see vast vistas of the Dreaming City. It's quite beautiful, actually. Of the
Right.
raids, it is quite possibly one of the most beautiful raids I've ever seen. But
Here's another question for you.
yeah,
Yes or no? Does
no.
the Shadow Keep tie in with the Crown of Sorrow raid?
You could say yes
Okay.
in a very vague way.
Okay. No, that's great. Um, has there been any word of a new raid being released with Shadowkeep?
Um, wasn't there one released? Yeah, there was actually one released that
I don't
involved
know.
it's oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's a Garden of Salvation. It's called.
Okay. Yeah,
And
I don't the reason that I don't know is because I haven't followed very closely.
it's okay.
I'm curious. And the only reason that I'm curious about Shadowkeep is because of the Hive. Love
Mhm.
the Hive. They're creepy and they're cool and they're interesting to me. Because I'm into monsters, um so that's good to hear. That was the end of that.
I will say, all I can say is, should I even say this? No, I don't think I
Don't.
should say it.
If you
So
if you have to question it, don't do it.
yeah, and that's the advice I'm going to take. I'm just going to say, it is rewarding, especially with the aha moment, and just where the story takes you as far as like, it also leaves you with a
Hmm.
what, but
Okay.
it's a good what. Not well. I don't know where the story takes us is good for us, but
Right.
it does leave you questioning for more. But it takes you in a direction of, let's just say that the way the year one campaign ended left you questioning, or not even of how it ended or anything like that, but just basically where they left you off with. Let's just say that it's going to kind of tie that back around, and also wanting you to have more in that. I'm being vague as possible.
Do we get any more information about the darkness? Yes or no?
So,
Okay. Okay. So tell me about the Shadow Keep. Like, what's the atmosphere in there? Are we talking like
well, it's on the moon,
Oryx's
so
ship
there's not much
or?
of an atmosphere. So,
You're so funny. Gonna punch you. Is it? Are we? So I mean, it's Hive architecture, but are we
yes,
getting a closer look at? I mean, because Destiny 1, we had Oryx's ship. We also had some moments in the moon where we dove into that hole,
yeah.
basically. And then, so, I mean, this is the first time, I feel like this is the first time that, because the keep, is it above ground?
For the most part, yeah. I mean, there's some. And the keep itself is pretty vast and expansive too. So I mean, it's a
Hmm.
pretty big area.
Yeah.
But there's a strike that runs through it. And boy, with like the sound, I mean, just the visuals that they have with that and the sound design for that too, of when you trigger events or something like that within the strike, just sounds amazing and looks awesome. And but that is some very excellent art design that they've taken. And it's just weird that there's this, I'm sure you've seen like the main picture of like Destiny 2 Shadow Keep, where it's just this
Yeah.
tall red pillar just sticking up out of the ground and with kind of a fortress on the side of it. And you're going into that, and yeah, there's some red sections that are just jutting out of the ground, pointy and spiky. It's very,
Hmm.
if I can tie this up with a design note, is there's a lot of pointy and spiky here.
I mean, that's most of their architecture, though. It looks, to me, it looks a lot. Have you ever seen termite damage?
No, I've never actually seen termite damage.
So termites, what they do is they
Hmm.
drill holes through the wood. And if you were to like break a piece of wood in half, then it leaves like these grooves and sharp spikes
Okay.
like termite damage. And that's what their architecture has always kind of looked like to me because it has these little pox in it. They're usually like a lot of half circles that end in like these spikes. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And that's always what their architecture has kind of felt like to me.
Basically, at the tops of like the pillars and stuff, it's uh, I guess it could be almost reminiscent of termite damage, and but
Mhm.
uh, yeah, but it's very pointy and spiky.
Fair enough. Um, I can't wait because I feel like this is me and don't comment on any of this because I don't want any spoilers.
Fine.
But I'm just giving you a way out, Gunbait. Chill
Okay.
out.
All right.
Um, so because the way that the Hive have been able to create darkness within their environments, like for instance, I'm specifically thinking of the moment in D1 where you first encounter the Hive and like you run into that one room and you have all the thralls running at you from every direction
Mm-hmm.
and you just kind of spray and pray.
Yeah.
um because it felt like whenever the Hive were around, so were like these, they always had those little things that like jutted out that inky black darkness. So it'd be interesting. Do you know what I'm talking about? Am I just imagining things?
I'm trying to think. Inky black darkness. Like, are you talking about like the
They
with
looked like barnacles over
I
everything.
oh that I mean a lot of that is chitin. I mean, and a lot of that is,
Sure.
and I don't know if you know about. I mean, it's like actually explained in Destiny 1. There's a conversation between Ghost and Eris Morn over comms, but basically, uh, most of like Hive architectures is made up with dead Hive.
They're like coral.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, in a way, but I mean, they're fashioning other Hive into decoration.
Hmm.
So,
It seems to me as if they've always had a stronger connection to the darkness than a lot of the other species that we've seen, other than the Vex who had the dark heart back in D1.
yeah.
because they had that connection to it. That was a weird that boss battle was just super weird to me.
It was weird.
Uh,
Yeah.
so I mean, other than that specific moment with the Vex, it always has seemed to me that the Hive have a stronger connection with the darkness. So I'd be interested in um I mean, that's part of the reason that I'd like to play Shadowkeep is to just find out, more lore on the Hive. Give it to
You'll get more lore on the Hive, but I think it also takes the Hive are definitely involved, but I think the picture is way bigger than that.
right,
So,
and that's fair. Um, I don't have any more. Oh, have they released new exotics with?
yeah. Well, I mean, this is not a new one, but I did get Monte Carlo, which
Okay.
is absolutely wonderful. You're a warlock, aren't you?
I was playing a warlock. I played a hunter for D2 to start out with,
Oh gosh. Ugh.
and then I started. I still have my warlock that I imported from D1, and then I started playing as a Titan, and I really liked it. So I don't know.
You disgust me. Well, anyways,
They can look. They can take so. I feel like they can take so much more hit. They can take so much more damage before they actually go down. Not so much more.
one would call that a problem.
I wouldn't when I'm playing one. Just when I'm trying to kill one.
No, but I Monte Carlo basically as you make kills with the Monte Carlo auto rifle,
Hmm.
you get your melee back,
Oh, nice.
and so what's awesome is if you're using that with what is it, Karnstein armlets, which is the
Okay.
exotic uh, gauntlets or whatever
I
for a
think I know which one
warlock.
you're talking about. Yeah.
Basically, so you can be killing guys, get your melee back from Monte Carlo, melee them, and get health back and an overshield. So you can
Oh.
keep repeating that as you're going through crowds of enemies. It's actually a lot of fun. So
Have you gotten the? It's the. It's kind of like Thorn. It's the hand cannon. Malfeasance.
Uh, actually, I have it sitting on the end of the last bit of quest. I think I have like 20% more to go through Gambit,
Hmm.
and but I actually have Thorn as well.
Oh,
So
because they did re-release Thorn.
yep, they did.
Yeah,
They
I'd
did bring
forgotten
back
about that.
Thorn. And they have another one that's kind of along those same lines of guns, but there's a gun called the Lumina. I think that's the name of it, if I remember correctly. But which is an interesting gun because it also has healing rounds that you can shoot your teammates with and heal them
Oh,
remotely. So
I would
using
not be good at that.
um, it's actually pretty cool if you're a Dawn Blade middle tree where you can have the one grenade that you can absorb or throw out to have a healing
Oh,
pool
sure.
for your enemy
Oh,
or
yeah,
for
I
your
did
friends.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah, you can actually heal your teammates, and also you can shoot them with Lumina and send healing rounds at them, and you can actually be a very valuable
Healer, yeah.
teammate with that. So
That's one of the things that I like about exotics is the ability to customize a character to make a build because that's what I like. I
hmm
think that's why I like D&D. You get to build a thing to do a very particular like this is what I want it to do. I want it to be a healer. I want it to just damage the crap out of things. I want to be able to tank stuff. I want to be able to, and you can do different offshoots of that. And there's so many different ways to be able to do that. And I like it when a game can allow me to build a character to be able to play to my strong points.
well, if you like builds, this is definitely the branch of Destiny that you've been looking for then because they have a thing called Armor 2.0 in the game. And Clear Knight and I have actually been over this in an episode because Elmer was gone on vacation, so I had Clear Knight on last episode.
Yeah.
And he went through a pretty, he explained Armor 2.0 pretty well, but I'll just kind of go over a brief synopsis of it. and just basically state that if you like to build to a certain type of play style, like you like playing with a certain type of gun, you can actually add a mod specifically for that to cater to that play style. And so also they brought back what is it in intellect, discipline, and strength.
Oh yeah,
They brought those back so you can actually focus on if you want your grenade back a little bit quicker, or if you want to have your melee up all the time, or you want to always have your super as ready as possible all the time. You can work towards that. You can also work towards if you want to be more tanky or not so tanky, but you want to dedicate to having speed or whatever. You have a little bit of versatility, and you can work towards having different armor sets be dedicated for different builds. Also, any ornamentation that you got previously within D1 or D2. I forget there's actually so many expansions now in just D2 alone now, but any ornamentation that you've got prior to this DLC, you can actually apply the ornamentation and make your armor look like that. So even if you got a crappy looking armor set that had really good stats on it, you can now actually just hold on to it and just apply an ornamentation to it and make it look nice and make it worthwhile for it to, mean something.
I like that.
Yes.
Because that has always been one of my major problems is I get an armor set that I absolutely hate the way it looks.
Exactly. And
but
you're stuck with it.
It has the best stuff, and then you're having to grind it. It takes so long to get that one thing that you want, but then you know what I mean. You do, and then it looks crappy, and you're like, guess I'm stuck with this because this is the build that I want.
Most of year 1 D2, I was stuck with, for my Warlock, I was stuck with, it was High Mind Complex. Mm-hmm. I remember that armor set so well because I know Kingsley always said, he's like, oh, here comes Gunbait in the rags. Like, I mean, it was literally like, you're just basically wearing a toga.
What you're talking about, yeah.
Yeah. But you had these weird metallic arms and this helmet that had like wires coming out of the back of the head. It looked weird.
Yeah. I didn't like that one. Yeah.
I did though, actually. And the fact that it actually bothered people, I wore it even more.
Sure.
Just because I'm that asshole.
I am too. So don't worry. Stop doing that. That just means I'm going to do it more. So don't tell me to. Throw a please in front of it, and I'll stop doing it.
Yeah, but
cool.
But they actually have a way now to where you can farm weapons too. If you played, I tried to blank it out of my head. Now it's been successful, but Curse of Osiris. You know how they had the weapon forge, yeah. Which was not really a weapon forge. It was a predetermined way to just get weapons that were fixed in rolls and stuff. But
you sound bitter.
I am bitter. However, they have a similar concept when you complete the campaign. However, you get these things that drop as you complete different objectives called essences, and they're the essence of there's the essence of brutality. There's the essence of I can't remember some of them, but there's just all these themes that go along with the weapon, and basically these essences are essentially bounties or little mission objectives that you can do to complete. You have to reach certain objectives within this essence, and then you take it to the lectern, they call it, and you turn it in to get a weapon, and it's a randomly rolled weapon. And so you can actually get some pretty good rolled weapons, and it is just a farming method for you to at least try to get a different weapon. And it takes a little bit of work, but at least you can expect different results out of them. So I thought it was a neat touch that they did. I thought it was, I thought it was a little wasteful that they had Curse of Osiris the Forged there. And that was it. I mean, once you're done with it,
You're done.
Yeah, I mean, there was no going back. There was no content from that point on.
Right.
And this has some replayability. So, and I do know that when I believe the essences that you get to drop, I believe they change from week to week.
Oh, nice.
So you can go back and like when I was playing last week, I was getting the pulse rifle, the hand cannon. I can't remember. I think it was a sniper rifle that was dropping, but and this week, probably changed to something else. So I would like to try to go back for the SMG if possible. So, or at least get a variant of it.
I will always. I am still bitter about the changes they made to Origin Story. Way back. This was way back before. I think it was even before Curse of Osiris came out.
I think that would, if I'm correct, that was a precision framed auto rifle, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
There are so many auto rifles now that I think that I think you can find something.
But I had built the Origin Story out, so it had exactly what I wanted. I had made sure that it was Origin Story. I'll always remember you.
Okay.
Well, cool. Is there anything else that you wanted to talk about for Shadowkeep?
Yeah, actually, I mean, like I said, we went over this before, but an event that you'll actually like is called also. It's basically like if you did any of the last DLC of Forsaken or the last season of Forsaken, they had the Menagerie.
Yes.
Did you get into that at all?
No.
Okay, so it was basically a 6-person activity that you went back to the Leviathan for, and you ran through that, and it was basically
that's right. Yeah.
You had these goals that you had these activities that you had to complete, and you just moved on to the next circuit, and then you had a boss battle at the end, and that was a rotating boss. They have a thing during this season called the Vex Offensive, and you can actually go in. It's another 6-person activity, and you spawn basically in the the garden for the Vex.
Oh, the one place.
Yeah.
The Endless Forest?
No.
Oh.
Get the hell out of here. The Black Garden. Thank you, Joey the Bastard.
Oh. Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah. This
Black Garden.
This is a problem of me. I mean, it's almost 1:00. My brain just starts shutting down over time. But yeah, so the Black Garden. Thank you, Joey. Yeah, so you actually go through the Vex Offensive, and you can actually go through these stages of. It is a loot progression type system where you can actually get better loot as you go on, and it is a farmable area. And it's a lot of fun. I actually enjoyed it, and you can get a different complete weapon set with random rolls on it. So,
that's pretty cool.
And that's for this season. Once the season comes to an end, they'll have some other type of enemy that will kind of fade in, I'm sure, and they'll have another 6-person activity for that season. So
let me ask you a question.
No.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Ikora Ray is building a Vex portal in the tower.
You're building a Vex portal in the tower.
Shut up. Jeez. I didn't want everybody to know that.
No. Is she?
I've seen memes or mentions of it.
I'll have to check that out.
Did you not know that?
No, I didn't know that.
I think I've seen pictures of like a partway completed ring that looks like like a Vex portal.
Evil J says that she is. So
see,
I'm gonna have to
Evil J knows.
After we sign off tonight, I'm gonna have to jump on and find out. So
even though J fingers buttholes, occasionally he knows what he's talking about. Also, I'm still banned for 4 minutes. How long was I actually banned for? Did I get banned more than once?
Who knows?
Oh, jeez. All right. Anyway.
Awkward.
So, I wanted to talk real quick. Was there anything else you want to talk about for?
Nope,
Shanky?
that was pretty much it. I would recommend if you've enjoyed, or if you felt like that you've been gypped somehow in the story ever since D2 started, I would recommend Shadowkeep.
How much is it? 20, $30?
It's $30, and I think you get the season pass, or the. Is that correct? Yeah, you get the season pass or whatever for $40 or whatever.
Okay.
I think that's what it is.
Worth the $30 or $40?
Well, I've enjoyed so far this season. So I compared to what we've had to pay for the DLC in the past, I would say it's a value that's worth it.
Okay.
So,
if you were to give it a score out of 10,
I won't do that.
fine.
Because I still have issues with the grinding for a number and stuff, and I won't do that. So that it won't be fair. So
that's fair. Okay. Well, I wanted to talk a little bit about a game that I'm kind of excited for. And the more I hear about it, the more excited I get. Jedi Fallen Knights.
The game that's being
published by EA.
And it's being done by Respawn, right?
Yes, Respawn. Thank you. That was the name of them.
Yeah.
They did Titanfall
and Apex.
Titanfall 2.
And
Apex.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know they did Apex Legends too. I guess I should have known that.
Well, Apex Legends actually fits it within the lore of Titanfall.
Oh, does it really?
Yep.
I didn't know that.
If you play Titanfall 2, they're talking about they're working making the Apex Predator, and basically the strong fighter or whatever like that, and then you have this Apex Legend, which is they're trying to determine who is the best fighter. So of the characters.
Did not know that. The things you learn. So it seems to be. I've heard it compared to Dark Souls, to Zelda, to a lot of different things. Have you seen anything about it?
I think I watched the initial trailer, and I think at that point I just set it down because. And I'm going to go through a playthrough of Battlefront. Oops, I'm sorry. I apologize. I hit my mic. I was a little bit let down with Battlefront 2. And I don't know how much stock I'm putting into, I with the whole thing, and I understand Respawn actually can be pretty, I actually enjoyed Titanfall 2. Apex Legends, they did an okay job with. Elmer may say different things on it. I think that there could be a little bit more desired with that game. And I'm sure they're going to do a good job with what is it called? The
Jedi Fallen Knight.
Jedi Fallen Knights. Thank you.
Fallen Knights or Fallen Knight? I can't remember. I'll look it up. You keep going.
Okay. With this particular Star Wars game, I have no doubt that they're going to do a pretty good job.
Jedi Fallen Order. Totally wrong. Yeah,
it's all good.
See, name
it's all right.
Not good
We're
for either of us.
Here. But I'm sure they're going to do a good job. However, it's just this with what EA did with
Star Wars Battlefront.
No, it's not even a Star Wars game.
Oh, Battlefield?
No.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Battlefield. No, it's the game with the mechs.
Titanfall.
No. Gosh, they own a lot of games with mechs in them.
EA owns half of the games that are on the market.
What's the game that came out that was just met with a whole bunch of crap that just came out this last year? Jay, I know you're probably shouting at your screen right now.
Jay, just tell us.
Anthem.
Oh, jeez. I loved Anthem.
That piece of shit.
Those are not mechs.
Whatever.
Mechs is anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. I was thoroughly disgusted with that game. I mean, granted, when I was able to get in to play it, it was cool, but it was just met with so many connection issues, and that was for the I said this before on another podcast, but it was, when you call it that, your preview to the public, and you're trying to get people to buy games. I was excited for it. I was buying into the hype. And when they hand out a preview and say, this is a vertical slice of this product,
right?
Here you go, have at it. And it was
the server issues were bad.
Server issues were bad, and then it continued being bad even after the game release. Like especially for people on PC. And just not just server issues, but just trying to hook up with friends just to do stuff, or people getting dropped. I guess that would be under server issues, but I don't know.
That's true.
After that game, I was like, I have no idea what EA is doing. And,
that's fair.
And I was thoroughly disgusted with it, and I was just I am worried about anything, and I think I can't remember where I heard it though, but I think that there was some type of meeting where Disney had to come to Star Wars or EA, and basically tell them, people are hating our franchise. Please make them stop hating our franchise.
Yeah, apparently they had to come to Jesus with EA and told them, if you continue to tank our product, we're going to pull the license.
Yeah.
And I think that was pretty much, or at least from what I understand, that's pretty much how that discussion went, where Disney was like, stop tanking our license, because if you don't, then you'll lose it, and we'll go and shop it around to other people. I mean, can you imagine? I just, because Disney is a scary giant to begin with.
They own everything.
They own everything. You do not want to piss Disney off.
Don't fuck with the mouse, all right?
Dude, you will get slapped. I mean, they'll buy you and close you down.
Yeah.
I mean, that's basically where Disney is at. They own Marvel. They own Star Wars. I mean, as far as a production company goes, they're probably as close to a monopoly as you can get in this day and age.
They own ABC or the Go Network and Fox.
Yup.
That's insane. So
as far as a production company goes, they're as close to a monopoly as you can probably get in this day and age. Yeah. Which I kind of feel bad for Netflix, because Netflix had that partnership with them, and then Disney's like, yeah, never mind. We're just going to build our own streaming service. So screw you.
Yeah. So I'm really worried.
Sure.
What's the company who made Anthem? The studio.
EA? Oh, BioWare.
That was BioWare. I think that was BioWare's like big chance to come back after, and I know, Elmer goes on about how Mass Effect, was, is and was the great game and everything like that. I don't necessarily share that opinion. However, I will not talk badly about it. Okay.
I wasn't a big fan of Mass Effect, but as far as Dragon Age goes, big fan of that.
Okay. But there was a lot of bad press around the last Mass Effect.
Oh yeah, Mass Effect 3 got trashed.
Yeah. So I thought this is,
or Andromeda. Andromeda is the one that really.
Yeah. I thought this was, BioWare's chance to make it big and make a turnaround and stuff. And I don't blame BioWare for this exactly, because
I don't think a lot of people do though.
Yeah, because they were forced to use EA's engine. I think they could have made a totally different and much better product. But
I'll be honest with you. I like Anthem. I still like Anthem. I like the gameplay. They have some interesting story elements. The server issues are painful. And that's true. I mean, BioWare, they've got the new Dragon Age coming out. But for those of you, so Evil J said BioWare can't be doing too bad. They just moved the main office to a new fancy building. Um, but you know, they've got a new Dragon Age coming out. But I like Anthem. I like the Cataclysm. I jumped back in with the Cataclysm, played with that. That was fun. That was an interesting thing because we, you know, I don't know if you ever actually played Anthem, but like one of the villains that was talked about was General Harkin. General Harkin was like the guy that started the Heart of Rage, and he had disappeared, and then so in Cataclysm you actually get to encounter him, you talk with him, you communicate with him, and it's really interesting because he is obviously there for a purpose to make sure that this new Cataclysm ends. And he is, I mean, like to the point to where, I mean, it's been a while and that's over anyway, so I don't mind spoiling it. Yeah, he actually allows himself to be captured and imprisoned in the fort, in Fort Tarsus. Um, and so you get to communicate with him as an NPC, and it's kind of cool because there's a moment where you're talking with him and he'll disappear and then he shows up with an apple, and you're like, where the heck did you get that apple? And he's like, oh, here, you want it? And then he shows up next to you and he starts talking to you outside of the cell, and then he disappears and he's inside the cell again, and you're like, ooh, some crazy stuff is happening. And there was also a big moment at the end of the campaign. Again, it's been so long, where you find out that these kind of monsters of legend are starting to show up again. These creatures that had enslaved humanity a long time ago, that the original I can't remember what her name is at the moment, but the lady who created the javelins had fought against to free humanity from their yoke. Now they're starting to show back up again. They find a dead body, they have it laid out. It's like an end credit scene, and they're like, hey, we found this scouting around. There are some really good story elements. I wish they, because I have a feeling that it's just going to get cut at some point. I don't think it's making enough money, or it will make enough money for them to keep going with it. But it seemed like they had set it up to have that BioWare flavor and story going on. But anyway,
Yeah.
back to Jedi Fallen Order.
Yes, let's.
Sorry, long tangent. So Jedi Fallen Order, I'm the more I see about it, the more I'm excited. The combat looks really good. I saw the first trailer, where the combat looks interesting. It kind of looks like a blend of, I don't know if you ever played Force Awakens. Not Force Awakens.
Force Unleashed.
Force Unleashed. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's the Force something.
Yeah.
Where you have those kind of cool powers where you can grab and pull. But I've heard it compared to Sekiro. Did you ever play Sekiro?
I did not.
Okay.
I really don't get into roguelike games because
Sure.
I like my life.
Yeah, they caused me to rage so much that
I've tried to do Dark Souls, and I was just like, I hate myself.
I love Dark Souls, though. That is so near and dear to my heart. So it has a lot of the elements of where you're trying to find the person's weakness. Like swordplay seems to be a heavy piece of the game. Now Sekiro is able to accomplish it with a couple of button mashes, so that you can see a meter and a block and an attack, and those are the two buttons that you have. But it adds a complexity to the amount of combat. So from people who have played it, they've said that it's similar to that, where you have a block and attack, and you're trying to find the person's weakness and you're wearing them down. Plus you have force powers. Now, one of the cool things, because when I watched the first trailer, I was like, this looks super linear. And there was a moment where they had like the cameo of the guy that was in Rogue One.
Okay.
And then he like shoots a grappling hook and he disappears, in that first trailer.
Yeah.
The gameplay trailer. And he disappears, and I'm like, oh, that's such bad storytelling. to just have cameo and then this way of egress that's like you can't accomplish yourself, and it's a way of taking them out of what you're doing that just in my storyteller brain really just sticks a poker in there and goes, yeah, because I'm like, that's not good storytelling. Anyway, but it looked cool enough to where I was like, okay, this looks interesting. I don't know, I'm still unsure. But from what I've heard, because it has a bit of Castlevania element to it, where as you acquire powers and you can go back to planets and have alternate routes. Because from what I saw, you have a ship, you have the planets that you can choose from, so you do have some explorability with that. And then I've also heard that they have temples and things like that. Temples, but like Zelda like temples where you have an element of puzzle solving involved to
Oh,
be able
wow.
to acquire knowledge, I'm assuming. Maybe a Jedi holocron or something like that. Um so yeah, and yeah, I've seen the new trailer. Um and it has some boss battles that look really interesting. There's like this ice frog thing that you're fighting on like this tilting platform, it kind of looks like. There was this large bat that appears. There's also this sinister sister or something like that. She's on errand for the Empire to track you down. That looks really good. Apparently you encounter her a few times throughout the story. It's shaping up to be linear in certain aspects, but it looks like they might be doing a good blend, almost like because God of War, right? The new one
Yeah.
was kind of linear, right? You had a path that you could follow. There were branching paths that you could accomplish different things or find other things, but it was very linear in the way that you could progress or go. You couldn't just pick a direction and go in it. And it looks like that. And the thing about that, I'm not too worried about that because as long as they put a lot of care into their storytelling, like God of War did, God of War had, first of all, their game mechanics were on point,
Yeah.
where the controls felt good in your hand, and they had good voice actors that were able to tell an amazing story. God of War, I think, might be the new one, might be in my top 3 games of all time.
I would even go on to say, I mean, if you played Horizon Zero Dawn with that too, I mean, throw that up there as well.
Sure, I never actually got to play that one.
I
That's one I
highly
want to go
recommend
into.
it.
Yeah, that's what I need to go back and play that one because it looked good. But yeah, I mean, linear doesn't bother me too much as long as there's lots to do and they nail the game mechanics and they make it a good story. Because if you're going to make it linear, those are the things that you have to focus on because then you can forget that you're kind of on a path, right? Because you are so sucked into the story that it's telling that it doesn't really matter. So as long as they do that, I'm really excited about it. I'm excited to see more. I'm looking for some gameplay because it is a EA and they tend to screw people. So
Yeah.
I'm just being honest.
I'm not gonna buy it right out of the gate. I'm gonna watch some streams, see how some gameplay is
I'm
going.
probably going to do the same.
Just because I'm happy that I didn't buy Anthem because could you imagine
It's so
buying it
fun,
on
though.
day one and just not having a good time playing it? Because I mean that's where a lot of people were.
I pre-ordered it. I
Yeah.
pre-ordered it. I had
A
gotten a
lot of people
special
did.
edition with all the stuff. It was aggravating to not be able to access the servers and then not able. I was able to get in at like midnight because everybody had gone to bed and given up. And then I would get kicked all the time and have to come back in. Oh, it was certainly aggravating.
But yeah, so I'll watch it from a distance, and I'm a huge Star Wars fan. I mean,
Yeah.
I had old DOS games, Star Wars
Oh,
DOS
sure.
games, that I used to play all the time and played them all the way through. and for the longest time, I mean, it was based on the Unreal Engine, but I used to play the shit out of Jedi Outcast,
Yep.
Jedi Knight, Jedi Outcast, too.
Hmm.
And that was a wonderful game, and that also had, and I don't know if this the Fallen Order, if it comes with any RPG elements or MMO
I
or anything like that
I haven't
options,
seen
but
anything yet. I think it might be less RPG element and more like a Castlevania. You acquire abilities by doing certain
so
things, and
this
then
this is
more
definitely
abilities
strictly just
come up.
single player then. I mean,
From what I'm seeing, there's no multiplayer.
okay.
Strictly single player.
I'm good with that. If they can narrow focus and just
Hmm.
stick to what the main center of the game is, I'm good with that. But
Yeah.
it's when they start doing all this other stuff of trying to manage connections and stuff, I get worried. Um, I mean, I get frustrated when I play Apex because just their whatever they're using for servers is absolute junk. I mean,
Well,
I have a
I
horrible
think
time playing it every time.
a lot of people. And I've heard this a lot. I think a lot of people have a misinterpretation of there are a lot more multiplayer games that are released. They have more playability. I'll give them that, right? You can jump on with your friends, you can have fun, you can do a thing, whatever. But single player story focused games also have a big part in the industry. I don't think they're going anywhere. I think people crave a good story when
Yeah,
they play. If you can get that through a multiplayer experience, that's great, but there are a lot of limitations that you mentioned. Connection issues, things like that. A lot of the MMO type atmosphere makes it to where you can't have a story that you yourself are impacting, right?
right.
I mean, Destiny, your guardian goes through and does these things, but and the world changes, but it's hard to make it feel that way. You know what I mean?
Hmm. I do know
Um,
what you mean.
so stories do that. I mean, Red Dead Redemption, holy crap. Such an amazing single player story. They had a multiplayer add on that used a lot of the elements from the story campaign. But that story campaign, so good. God of War, so good. You can get a really good story. So I'm excited. I'm hoping that that's what they do with Jedi Fallen Order.
Same.
Yeah.
So
And I'm with you. Sorry, go ahead. I
oh,
didn't mean to
I was
interrupt.
just gonna say I'm excited for it, but I don't want to waste my money, and that's where I'm at with
Exactly.
EA right now. And that's where I'm also at with Activision games right now. So,
That and that's the same place I'm at. I think if I can offer a suggestion, and this is not necessarily to you, but to whoever is listening, I would definitely keep it on your radar. Check it out when it comes out. I mean, that's what I'm planning on doing. The first day it comes out, I'm probably going to log on, look at some of the YouTubers who play through it, so I can see what the gameplay looks like, and then decide from there. Because I'm excited about it, but EA has screwed people so much in the past that there's a big part of me that's like, so I want to wait and see.
yeah,
But it's definitely something I've been keeping my eye on because Star Wars.
yeah, exactly. I love Star Wars,
Yeah.
I just I'm not buying the game right out of the gate just to punish them somehow. I just want to have a good experience,
Right.
and I also I advise this to a lot of people. It's like you can't really necessarily always buy into the
Hype.
pre-order hype or
Yep.
whatever, just because
It has a
these companies need to learn that they also need to make a product that is
works.
yeah, just simply works. Yes.
If as long as you make it work, it's fine. I
Yeah.
mean, Red Dead Online, that they released it as a beta. It had a lot of connection issues when it first came out, but it wasn't like I had not bought the game to play the multiplayer. I had bought it to play the single player.
Hmm.
The extra bit was just add on that now I really enjoy, especially since I added in the occupations. But yeah, my point is I don't know what my point is.
Okay.
Yeah, the end. Sorry. As you were saying.
Well, I really don't have much to say. I am excited for Red Dead for PC. Also have not pre-ordered that yet. I will get that when I'm ready to.
Yeah.
But I love Red Dead, but I'm also kind of bitter because it's like, gosh, why couldn't you
You're
release
making me
this?
pay $60 to get this game again
Yeah.
because you could have just released it at the time. Yeah.
Yeah, I also have a family to to
To
manage too.
support.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like there's a lot of games coming out that they add up. So
Yep.
but no, I'll be getting it just not right out of the gate. So
Yeah.
but like I said, my reasonings for getting it are completely different from a lot of people. So
Yeah. No, the only reason that I would get it is so that I could play on the Red M server.
yeah.
And that's the only reason that I would consider it, is because I would love to be able to play with you guys. I love beginning to play with you guys regardless.
Yeah. Well, and we already play in a loose RP fashion already. I mean, we're also I mean, we're having fun with it, and
Well, and that's I love keep interrupting you.
oh, no, go ahead.
I love being able to play with you guys because it is just they are some of the best times that I've had in gaming lately. Just like it, because it's so random. Just
Yeah.
hey, let's go steal a train and ride around the entire map. Just shoot every town we come across, or just some fun experiences. One of my favorite gaming experiences is still when we tied up that Legolas. Do you remember that? Somebody had just gotten the reinforced lasso, and we tied up the PC after Elmer choked her out in an alley outside of the saloon in Valentine.
Oh, was that a character's name, Legolas, or another
Yes.
player's name?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then we tied her up and threw her on the bar.
Ah, yes.
And waited, and then Dick Tracy came around.
I
It was
forgot
like,
all about.
let the girl go and nobody gets hurt.
Yeah.
So much fun.
Yeah.
Still to this day, some of them.
No,
Oh,
when I've had several times where I've been laughing so hard and it's like 2 a.m. and my wife just, I immediately have to have like a quick, shut off for my mic or something like that. But like my wife barges in the door and she's like, "You're being really loud."
Shut up.
And it's like, I'm sorry.
Wasn't me.
Yeah. But no, I mean, just the whole night just devolving into laughter constantly over and over and over
Usually,
again.
yeah.
And it's like I'm met with the decision of, do I punish myself with very little sleep or do I have the time of my life with you
Right.
guys, and it's usually I choose time of my life because it's just a lot of fun. So
Yeah. I agree.
all right, are you ready to get on out of here?
Yeah, I mean, this has been going on for what, 2 hours now?
Hour 36 according to Twitch.
Oh, well, there you go.
So according to the new dashboard, which I'm looking at right now, because
Ooh,
so
a new dashboard, you say?
yes, it's dashing.
Dashing. You dashing dashboard.
So let's see here. Where can people find you, Russell?
They can find me up their butts.
Oh.
No, you can. Only if you send me pictures of Dick Cheney. So you can find me on Twitter at drjex. That's JEX0725. I usually talk a lot about Dungeons and Dragons, Critical Role. I also am following heavily the Wheel of Time series that Amazon is doing, and stuff like that. I'm a nerd. Sometimes I put my art on there. Um, and then you can also find me on the Discord, and that is Jackal7250 72590. Jackal72590.
That's
Um,
that's all correct.
I caught myself. Caught myself. And I'm usually pretty heavy in either Red Dead Redemption 2, because I play a lot of that, or Dungeons and Dragons. Also, we have a pretty cool creative channel, people's writings,
Mhm.
NSFW, specifically for Wicked Jester. And then we also have some art. People put up their minis that they've painted, cool stuff like that.
Nice.
And that's it.
Okay. Um, before I give out my plugs, I actually stumbled on a show on Amazon Prime. You'd mentioned Amazon Prime. I thought, oh gosh, there's a show I stumbled on. It came out in 2018, and my understanding is they were signed on to do a second season. Their first season is only 5 episodes, so it's a British show, but it's called Britannia,
Oh,
and it is basically the second resurgence of Romans back into the Britain area region.
interesting.
And it if you like, Celtic gods and druids and
Oh, baby.
Romans, it's got all that. If you like human sacrifice, it's got that too for you.
Mm,
I've been thoroughly enjoying it, and I can't wait for the second episode. So,
I love
or
when
the
they
second
rip out.
season.
I love when they rip out the heart and then stick it on their penis.
They ripped out a spine of a person after they've sacrificed them,
Dude,
and so before they sent him on into the underworld, they put in an oak branch into his back, and they said, "So he'll have a spine of oak."
that's kind of cool.
That was really
I
cool.
mean, it's like okay, but still, it's cool to look at like ancient, um, the way that like Egyptians, they would put all their organs nearby so that when they rose from the dead, they could stick them back in, or they would entomb their servants with them
Where's
so
my
that.
balls?
What? No, I just want the root, not the stem. So I love that kind of stuff. So that is something I'll definitely have to check out.
Yeah. Okay. I'm Gunbait101. You can find me everywhere at Gunbait101. And this has been Just Some Guardians
The
podcast.
turgid Gunbait 101.
You can find us on JustSomeGuardians.com. All of our YouTube, Discord links are all there. We're listed on Podbean. Basically, wherever finer podcasts are downloaded, you can find us there too. So,
Because we like to spoil the crowd that we're a part of.
indeed. Um, let's see here. What else? What other? If you'd like to send us an email, send us an email at justsomeguardians@gmail.com. And we stream
Pictures of Dick Cheney,
well, we don't
questions.
stream pictures of Dick Cheney, but we maybe we need to sometime, like
We
have a
should.
little rotating slideshow of Dick Cheney.
Yeah. That'd be the pre-show thing. We're
Okay.
getting ready to come, and here's pictures of Dick Cheney.
Yeah. That sounded weird how you worded it. But yeah,
Here's
we
pictures of Dick Cheney.
yes. We stream live here usually every Thursday right around 11:30 p.m. I was a little bit late tonight because I wasn't quite ready trying to get my new setup going. But yeah, so this is just thrown together, but hope it wasn't too off-putting for everybody. But I thank you guys all for being here, and hopefully we'll see you guys next week. So Russell, would you like to send us off?
Join us next week on Just Some Guardians for utter incompetency and mutual chaos.
Sexy.
This is the outro music. Da 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 Da, da, da. I can't sing any more of that song because it's copyrighted.
Honestly, I don't even know what song that is. So if I can't identify it, it's
Well, then I'll keep singing. I think everybody's like, nope, nope.
no. Please stop,
Please
please.
stop.
All right. Have a good night, guys.